Welcome to Hard in the Fight. My name is Daniel. I am the creator and also your host for today's profile of Baby Hulk. So before we get into the interview, make sure you do two things. One, make sure you like this video, share this video, but also follow us on all our social media platforms, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel so that you can gain future access to all of our content that you can share, you can be entertained by, and you can learn from, especially when we start profiling a lot of the fighters. Now, secondly, we got Heart in the Fight merchandise. And so I'll leave a link at the bottom so you can go there. And if you weren't aware, we have Heart in the Fight Shinigami gear. We have Heart in the Fight Reckless Rico gear. And we also have the new 619 versus Venom Blacc shirt. And so if you want to support those fighters, you want to support this event, make sure you go on our platform, show them on social media so that they know that you're supporting them through their journey. Now, we bring to you another profile. And if you weren't aware, in the previous profile, we did of Beast. And now we have the iconic figure in Street Beefs, Baby Hulk. And when I say iconic, I'm talking about his fight having 24 million views. When you look at a lot of the fights on Street Beefs, like just to get 1 million is success. But 24 million, that means more than people in the US were watching this. And so he is the iconic, the never forgotten, always replicated Baby Hulk. Hope you enjoy the show. I would like to welcome Baby Hulk to the show. How you doing, my man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Daniel. How are you guys doing today?
Good, brother. How does it feel? I mean, before we really jump into your story, how does it feel to have probably one of the most iconic thumbnails there is in Street Beefs? I mean, even around the planet with you versus Viking. And it seems like it becomes viral every time there's a huge fight. Like, how does that feel?
Oh man, it's always kind of surreal that people like kind of hit me up in my DMs or like stop me in the street and be like, "Hey, I saw that fight. That was super cool." But honestly, man, it's just looking at it. It's kind of cool. But when I'm in the gym, I'm just regular Dave, or people call me Baby Hulk, but I'm just like a regular everyday dude. So I never really try to conceptualize fame or like dwell on it too much because it's really how other people see you, not how I see myself. So
Yeah.
even though people be like, "Oh, you're famous," I'm like, "Well, I don't really see myself as famous, so you don't really feel it." It's really that, like, to other people I'm famous, but I'm like, "Oh, I'm just still me," so I don't feel any different.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about that fight, like, I mean, it's hard to not see the number. It just seems like the image continues to show up on Twitter. It continues to show up on Instagram. It shows up everywhere. And not only that, it has 28 million views in that fight. And so we're not just talking about like one fight getting to 1 million, which is a lot to celebrate, but it hit 1 million 28 times.
It's funny. I always see it when Jake Paul fights. So people
Yeah.
love it. Hey, Jake Paul. If he's going against anybody short and black, it's hey, this is. So anytime he's fighting, I see a spike in activity. So that's always kind of cool. But I don't know, man. Like it is. I definitely go back and check the numbers every so often. It is literally crazy. I can't explain it. It's just like the perfect storm. It was a good time. The thumbnail, like you said, it was a good length fight, good finish and everything. So just blessed, and it just happened to turn out like that. I'm glad people liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for one, did you just turn pro? I just want to make sure because I know you had your last fight as the microweight champ of Street Beefs. And so I also see you holding up another belt. And so I'm just trying to figure out the story. So did you turn pro and become a champion? Let me know.
Okay, I'm really glad that you acted because so many people hit my DMs and be like, "Hey man, heard you went pro, like you left Street Beefs to go pro." Okay, so funny story. When the first time I left, I told him I was pursuing an amateur career and eventually to go pro. But when he said it, he's like, "Baby Hope took his career to go pro." Everybody ran with that, so everybody thinks I'm a pro. But how many pro fights do you have? How are you getting paid? If I was a pro, I couldn't do Street Beefs. But no, I am
Right.
I'm just a lonely amateur. I am 2-1 right now. The rule in North Carolina, once you have 4 fights, you can turn pro. So I'm just grinding the AMI promotion out, and that belt that you saw was from an amateur promotion. So I won that, and I'm looking to win a couple more. And whenever my coach gives me that green light, he says, when I first started, he said, "Yo, we give it about a year and a half, see where you are." So when he gives me the green light, we'll turn pro hopefully by the end of this year, beginning of next year. Start rattling off some of those pro wins. Fingers crossed we could get to a big league.
Word. And what promotion are you fighting in currently?
Okay, so I'll fight back and forth, but who I'll hold the belt for is Flex Fight Series. I am their 125-pound champion. I fight for Derek Brunson's Ultimate Battlegrounds. That's what I'm fighting this next Saturday. They have a belt, so hopefully I can win that. And just any promotion that hits me up that I kind of like to feel, and my coaches can make, I'll really fight anywhere.
Yeah, and so what I find is those who fight in street beefs, I think one, they have those who want to get a good exercise, right? They have fitness goals, and so street beefs becomes like their ultimate goal. I want to be able to get there because what that signifies is I had a journey of a weight loss journey, or I'm getting back active, and so I want to. And then there's others who just love to fight, like love to test themselves, and so they go to the yard there. And then they have this third group who are looking to go professional, who are looking to actually take this to be a career move. And so for those folks who are fighting in street beefs at the moment, right, like how do they make that transition? Like what was that transition for you?
Okay, so this is actually super cool that you asked me this, because somebody literally DM me today and asked, like, how did you get into street beefs and everything? So when I made the decision that I wanted to, do MMA for a career, I already had my coach, I already had my gym, and I just needed a fight. This was like kind of right before quarantine, so it wasn't that quarantine was kind of keeping me from fighting. It's just, promotions wasn't getting back to me. Nobody would really respond, and I just wanted to fight. I'm like, yo, I got to get this started. I got to see what it's like. So my friend, we were hanging in the garage. He said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And he showed me Street Beefs. Bunch of guys fighting in the backyard. Bunch of people yelling. I'm like, "Oh man, that's crazy. That's hilarious." Like some real Masvidal type stuff. And he's like, "You want to do it?" And I laughed it off. I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I'll go fight in the backyard." And he's like, "No, for real. Like, it's in Virginia. They got an event coming up. I'm not going to tell you how far it is, like how far of the event is. Are you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Bang. All right. 3 weeks. 3 weeks went by like that. Drove up to Florida. We drove up to Virginia. Exactly what it looked like a backyard. Like I was super sketched out. I was like, "Oh my God, what have you got me into?" But it was a great experience. Everybody was super nice, really respectful. Shout out to my opponent, Babyface. Got my first fight, ended quickly. Got those nerves out. Kind of saw what a fight would potentially be like, and then after that, man, I hit the ground running.
And so when you get to the yard, like you said, you were super sketched out, right? And so what yard was this? Because I know that Street Beast had transitioned to multiple yards. And so which one was this one?
I believe the first time I went, it was the OG yard, but like the OG yard is by like you gotta go through like a path, like a gravel path. It's not a road. You want and you're going deep into the woods into like somebody's real private property. And I was like, it was like we only see other cars going. I'm like, it must be here. So we followed the cars, and then it opens up to you like a house in a big field. People park their cars in the field, line them up, and they came up to the car. They'd be like, "Hey, who are you?" Show them ID. You sign the waiver, and then it's just a bunch of bewildered people like you, like, "Oh shit, we're here." Like, people are so nervous. People like, "Oh man, that's the cage, that's Scarface." You see all your favorite fighters here, and they're just walking around, man. It's really like I don't know, the Kumite or something like Mortal Kombat. If I would everybody got they, "Hey man, where you from?" Drove from Las Vegas, man. I came from Tampa. Like I'm like all these people from all over the state are just coming, and it's wild. It was such a don't want to say crazy, but it was just a wild experience.
Yeah, and who were the top fighters at that time when you first showed up to the yard?
Okay, so funny enough, uh, Italian Tyson was there, and dude, I seen. I think this was right after his Guru fight, so he was
Okay,
like,
yeah.
he had a name, and he was like, "Hey man, this is him," and I kind of he. I told my friend the first time I seen him, like, yo, he gives off such a weird energy, dude. He went in the freaking woods and just like raged out like, oh, nobody can beat me. I'm gonna kill everybody. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is like? I was like, this definitely isn't the move. He was like hulking out over there. So that was my first impressions of him. I seen Nighttime Guru there. He was cool. Like he was really laid back. But yeah, back then it was like Italian Tyson, Nighttime Guru. I believe Gorilla pulled up in like a pimped out van. Him and no, if it wasn't Gorilla, then it was Leonidas. So I met like all the original OG, like Leonidas, Iraqi Assassin, the Wolverine, all of them. So
That's great. That's great. Yeah, man. I mean, those are wild times. I mean, for myself, someone who's was watching Street Beefs, from the peripheral, like I remember like seeing Italian Tyson going crazy. I'm like, yo, who is this dude? I mean, I think he was. I mean, there were a few other fighters like King Leo that helped draw me into the fight to watching Street Beefs, but certainly watching Italian Tyson going crazy, I was like, yo, this dude is a character. And
dude, he was
so,
definitely the face for a while. Like everybody was
yeah,
like, when I first got like one or two wins, people were like, Baby Hulk versus Italian Tyson, Baby Hulk versus Italian Tyson. I'm like, bro, I'm not getting in there with that crazy. But nah, like yeah, he was I could tell like he wasn't my cup of tea, but I could tell why people liked him. He was really intense. He talked crap, and he kind of was the face for like that angsty young group. Like I can beat everybody. I'm a tough guy. So I can see why he was pretty popular back then.
yeah. And so before we get further into your kind of Street Beefs career and all the, I mean, monumental fights that you had going into Street Beefs, just
Monumental. I don't know, maybe one or two.
maybe one or two. Come on. All right. So anyone who fights Turk and beats Turk to me is like, you are a monster because Turk is no easy walk in the park, not even close. And so I definitely want to just give you your roses while you're here, right? Show you some love while you're here, while you're doing your thing. And so, how'd you get into fighting in the first place?
That's a great question. So I always like to compete. Like even before like I knew what competing was, I was just so competitive. I didn't like to lose at video games, uh, foot races, push-up contests, nothing I like to lose at. So as I grew up, I was like, everybody, especially in the South, sports is something to get into. Football was really big. Was not made or built for football, obviously. So I was like, yo, tried it out. Like, really wasn't my thing. My dad always said, even before I got to high school, he said, yo, wrestling's gonna be your niche. You're gonna do so good at wrestling, you're gonna take to it just like I did. And he was right. It was very hard, but that's what I liked about it. It was very difficult. The weight cut made it a stranger sport, another aspect of it. And people just are tough. Like if you're a wrestler, you're tough. There's usually no easy wins, especially in the beginning. There's a lot of trial and error, a lot of getting beat up, and then growing from that. So I always really like that. I'm somebody who learned from hard times or just like setback. So that just instilled in me, just keep competing, keep competing. Then after high school, I wanted to wrestle. Like I wanted to go to college, but I wanted to wrestle in college. So picked a great school, UNCP. Went there, competed for about 3 years, and then after that, I came back here and I helped coach, youth wrestling, high school wrestling. Well, I was like, dude, I'm not done. Like, I'm not done competing. Like, I could definitely be a coach, but I'm like, what's the next step? And I'm like, MMA. Like, I love the UFC coming up, the Ultimate Fighter. I kind of didn't get right behind that wave of the Ultimate Fighter, like Forrest Griffin and him, but big in the WEC, big in the Strike Force. Obviously, Derek Brunson from my hometown. He was really big, so that kind of put it on the forefront. And just when I got here, I had my head coach is, shout out to John Salter, who's fighting for the belt. He's a middleweight top contender in Bellator. My assistant coach is Joe Selecki. He's a prospect lightweight in the UFC. My teammate Jamie Pickett's in the UFC. So just seeing these guys and training alongside them every day, those dreams or those aspirations of doing this and making it a career became more tangible. So I just kind of, after that, I just ran with it.
And so it seems like, did you know that you were going to use, I don't want to say use, I think use is probably a strong word here, but forgive me for those who feel like it's a strong word. But did you feel like you were going to be able to leverage your relationship with Street Beefs to get to the pro level? Or was just Street Beefs just the extracurricular that you were doing to keep in shape?
Honestly, like I said in the beginning, I just needed a fight. Like the first fight was super, I'm like, hey, cool. And then it was weird. People from my gym stuff like, hey, did you do Street Beefs? I'm like, dude, how do you know about Street Beefs? But I've been watching Street Beefs for like 10 years, dude. Like, and all my friends used to, like, everybody from the gym would come up and be like, hey, man, so you're in Street Beefs. So you're in Street Beefs. So I knew they had a lot of subscribers, but I'm like, somebody's watching. Nobody I know. Apparently everybody I know watches them. So I'm like, okay, cool. And then I went back for the second one. And then the third one, I won the belt. So it became getting fights, but also, this is super good for marketing and for exposure. And that's what they tell you, man. Like, it's super good for exposure. So at that time, man, I just said it was killing two birds with one stone. Like, I like the setup. At this point, I already fought for them. It's doing wonders for my social media. I'm gaining a relationship with all the guys. They're super cool. So it just made sense to keep doing it.
And was there a plan to how long you were going to fight in Street Beefs? Or did that just come after you had a number of fights and you said, all right, you know what? I think it's time to make the transition?
Honestly, I always say this. My coach did not like me fighting there. Of course, he was like, "No, it's dumb, don't do it." But then I was like, I kind of talked to him, and he actually ended up telling me back in the day, when MMA was not as professional as it is, a little more seedy. He had a couple of smokers fights, fights in bars or places, outside just to get experience. So he's like, I know what you're going through, and of course I'm gonna make fun of you because that's my coach. But he's like, yo, honestly, you're getting fights, you're getting exposure, just be safe. So he was cool with it, and I don't know, it just was a good relationship, and I never I wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna have 6 fights and I'm be done. But when I started winning, I'm like, I want that belt. I'm definitely gonna get that belt. And at that point, there was no microweight champion. It was just the 45-pound belt. So I was gonna challenge Beach. It's actually in my second fight. They kind of cut it because I started going crazy because I thought the fight was over. But I was like, yo, fuck that. I want him. I'm the champ. Blah, blah, blah. And right after that event, he was like, yo, I got some special for me. And he had made the announcement, hey, we got a division now. It's for Baby Hope. Yeah. So after I got the belt, then I'm like, okay, I was going to step away to really focus on, the AMI career. But then COVID happened and nothing was going on at all. It was really hard to train. It definitely, nobody was putting on fights. But you know who was? Street Beefs still putting on fights. So I was like, hey, man, I love to stay active. I just need a fight. So I came back and, had a couple more fights.
Yeah, and certainly during COVID, Street Beefs blew up, right? I mean, it was already big before COVID, but it seemed like everyone was stuck at home. People were trying to figure out what can they do, especially fighters or even those who have regular jobs, right? They couldn't do anything. And so I think what Street Beefs was able to do was, one, provide entertainment for those who were stuck at home, but also providing an outlet. Definitely. Yeah, provide an outlet for those who wanted to continue their training, wanted to get to the next level. because you saw a lot of fighters kind of, as soon as COVID hit, you saw a lot of fighters kind of emerge onto the scene. You also start to see like the expansion of the Streetbeefs brand. So you have all these different branches developing all at the same time. And so certainly, and then I think shortly after, I mean, I don't know if we're fully out of COVID yet, but like then we get to Streetbeefs gets to 2 million. And so YouTube subscribers. And so it just kind of blew up. And so,
dude, like you said, man, that is wild. It's like, especially during quarantine. I'm partial to it because I'm a part of it.
yeah.
I kind of like that. The I always say like the new wave of like the street beast athlete, like you said, the ones who kind of use it to propel or had aspirations of going to the next level. I remember, like I said, when I came in, there was your Leonidas's, your Italian Tysons, and then when I came around, it was me, then Rico and Memnom, and what happened with them. They went pro. They signed huge. I'm super proud for my guys. And you just when we came, then like, dude, I remember my first event was maybe like 35 fights, and then like the last 4 or 5 I went to, it was like 50, 60, 50, 70 fights. Like, hey man, this is going to be our biggest day of fight. It just blew up. People would come and they would fight. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. Like, we'll be in the morning, start at 10, and the fights would go to like 10, 11 at night. Like, it was wild to see like how much they blew up. I mean, they, like you said, they were already big, but they had that nice little pop.
Yeah, it certainly like magnify their presence, right? And so then you also saw fighters who were training at major gyms showing up. I mean, they didn't have big names or anything, but they were training in major big gyms, what we will consider big gyms. And so it was just crazy to see all this kind of like the emergence of the Streetbeefs kind of brand. I mean, it emerged in the past, but I seemed like it really stamped its logo and its brand across America and across the world, essentially.
Yeah. You know what? I figured. I mean, your boy might have had something to do with it. I don't like to take credit or whatever, but but definitely, like, dude, like those viral moments, like Man on Viking or Shinigami's kick that made Sports Center, or Memnon's kick that made Sports Center. That just, I remember Masvidal's page, reposted my fight. A lot of big pages like repost like his kick or stuff like that. So it just really got people out there, and people like the people who were like, oh man, that's Street Beefs. Because I see so much when a Street Beefs fight comes up, and people go, oh man, this is crazy. Like, oh man, y'all don't know about Street Beefs. Y'all know about Street Beefs. And I'm guessing when people see that, that brings them there. So it's just like it's able to get like a wider view.
Yeah. And then what was once you left, because I know you had a retirement fight. And so what was your record by the time you retired from Streetbeefs?
You talking about like the last time I fought, or like
the last time you fought in Streetbeefs?
After. Oh, okay. So I always say like it was Babyface, Ace, Heart of Stone, Viking, Sensation, Turk, then Painkiller. So I'm 7-0 Streetbeefs.
Okay, and so you're pretty much on the Hall of Fame. I feel like they put your name on the Hall of Fame already, right?
Okay. They didn't. They haven't. Like, people said they should. I just haven't made a big deal about it. But I'm sure it'll get on there eventually.
I think it has to be, right? Whenever what's interesting is that I've loved mixed martial arts for a very long time, right? And so from UFC 3, the first time I got exposed to UFC, like I've been following the sport since a kid. And so, and it's always fascinating whenever I get around folks who are not into MMA or into fighting. And then when we get in conversation and they ask me like, what do you like to do? And whenever I mention Streetbeefs, I don't expect them to know what Streetbeefs is, but what's interesting is that when they do know what Streetbeefs is, they know you. That's the only person they know. That's like, isn't the small buff little guy, his name is Baby Hulk fighting on Streetbeefs? I'm like, yeah, that's him. Yep, that is Streetbeefs. Yeah, and so certainly your name, like, it just rings bells, like you said, like, and so to me, I think that alone, I mean, of course, the 7 the 7-0 and the 24 million views on your fight versus Viking and the other million views on your other fights. I think that alone should just put you on the wall of Hall of Fame, right? And so if they haven't done it now, I'm going to talk to Scarface and be like, hey, man, you got to get my boy Baby
Yo,
Hulk on
flood
there.
Scarface's DM, say we need Baby Hulk on the wall by tomorrow.
So let's talk about
honestly,
Yeah, go ahead.
like I said, but honestly, it's all love. He's helped me so much, and like I said, if I'm meant to be, like I think I am, but like, dude, it's gonna happen. Like they always show love. So.
Nah, I'm confident it will happen. Scarface, I'm gonna hit you up, man. so, so let's talk about your 7 fights. All right, when you think about your 7 fights, who probably gave you the toughest time? Or it could have been the toughest time in the match or just the toughest time to prepare for.
Okay. I have been asked this question like a couple of times, and it's always the same. It was.
I mean, it's no shade to all the other fighters.
Yeah, of course. Like, because everybody, like, they're talented guys, especially like the guys who won titles or competed for titles. Definitely hold those fights in high regard because that's higher level competition. But it's definitely a toss up between Turk and Sensation, which is kind of funny because that's the one I did the same days. It was like probably like 10 minutes apart from each other. But Turk was hard because he's bigger, he's heavier, really good boxer, and way better jujitsu and like defensive wrestling than I even thought. He very surprised me there. He's good in that aspect, but it made it hard for all those factors. And dude, it was if y'all seen that fight, it was so muddy that day. He'll tell you he couldn't perform his best. I know I couldn't perform my best, and that one just kind of irked me because of I knew I could have performed better, but I wasn't able to show like my full skill set. So that was hard in that aspect. And in the same breath, Sensation was hard because he was right after Turk. I did a lot of grappling in the Turk fight, so my arms were like blown out. Like I could barely lift my arms. I had to stretch them out, but he was taller, good rangy kicks, fast. Again, the mud, but both of those guys together was like my toughest task because I'm pushing through it, and I always say, yeah, I have an opponent, but my opponent is me. Like, am I going to be able to, not get in my own way? Am I not going to overthink things? If the fight doesn't go my way, am I just going to like not freak out and just lose my composure? So those 2 fights were really good for me for just showing what I'm made of, just knowing when the shit hits the fan, I just got to get stuff moving.
Yeah, I mean, most people would probably, not advise you to take 2 fights in one day, 10 minutes apart. And so, I mean, what encouraged you to take it?
Okay, it was a couple of factors. One of the big factors is from North Carolina to Virginia is like 6.5 hours. And bro, and some of the fights you see, like if I ended in like the first minute and a half, I'm like, you ready to go back? Like so that on that aspect, more bang for your buck. I get 2 fights. 2 like the Turk fight was kind of like I won't say a favor, but they asked me to fight him. He wasn't on my radar. He was bigger than me. I thought he just boxed. I didn't really know he did MMA like that. So when he came to me with that one, I'm like, of course, if y'all feel like this is a good fight that y'all want to see, create some buzz, I was cool with that. But on the same token, I'm like, hey, I've been seeing this new kid, Sensation. He is my weight. He has a couple of wins. And I'm like, I would like to fight him. So if y'all could have him come the same day so I could fight both of them, because I didn't want to like do it, then another month come back. And plus, it made sense. Like, I think right before we fought, they fought each other. So that kind of let me see, not the pecking order, but just kind of how those 2 against each other went.
Yeah. And it also happened like on an off day. I mean, it wasn't during an event. It seemed like a private event. And so whose decision was that? Was that Scarface say, hey, we're just going to do like an offshoot event to just have y'all fights? or was it just like a
Yeah,
travel situation?
yeah, it was definitely that. So I can't remember exactly what the hiccup was. I think maybe it was work or something got mixed up on my side where I couldn't make the event. I think it was like graduation or it was like some important thing. I'm like, hey, I can't make it, but I can make it that day. I'm like, well, if you come that day, we could do it. And literally, it was nobody there. We pulled up, they got out, we fought, and then literally they packed up everything and was out. Like the whole the whole event probably took like 30 minutes, like for real.
Yeah, it certainly it was like a pop up event. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
meet me here,
exactly.
break out the
So
tent for a second,
that was
put it back.
super. That was super cool. I'm like, all right, 2 title fights, bang, bang, bang. All right, we out. Put those videos out, and I liked it because when I get there, they usually kind of because they know my schedule and everything, or like how far I got to come. So they usually kind of get me in there within the first couple of hours, which I really like. But that one was super cool because, like I said, it's just me. The focus is on me. I love seeing everybody there. That's another thing I love. But not having to be like, hey, Hope, can I take a picture? Da da da, which kind of messes with my focus a little bit. So it's just zoned in, fight, leave.
Word. What was your favorite Street Beefs moment? I mean, it could be where you were fighting or someone else was fighting. What was your favorite Street Beefs moment?
Oh my god. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you the first one that doesn't involve me or like not directly involves me, and then the second one like personally happened to me. So I don't know if you guys have seen the fight. What is it? It's what is his name? I met him at the event, but he was fighting what is his name? Like he's a good boxer. He's kind of real chill, aggressive. I gotta go back and look at
Was it recent?
the yeah, like it was like within like the last. It was the last event I was at.
Was it Showtime?
No, no, it wasn't that one. It's his name was Daniel. It was a boxing match, but I forgot his name. I think it's like KG or something like that. I'll end up sending you the link. But if I met him at the event, really cool, respectful kid. He was like, hey, would you mind being in my corner? A couple of guys asked me that fast. I'm like, oh man, of course, man. Hopefully I can help. So I'm in his corner and I'm like, all right, man, go out there. The other guy, very good box. He was definitely more experienced than Daniel. And the first 2 rounds, he put it on Daniel. Shout out to him for sticking in the fight, not giving up. That last round, man, like he comes back, he's hurt, he's tired, and everybody's trying to hype him up. And at this point, I am super invested in this. I'm in his corner. He's a good guy, like I said, and I want him to win this fight. So I come out with some speech. I don't know. I was like, I just got emotional in the moment, and I was like, the last thing I remember telling him was, "All I need is all you got." That's what my coach in high school used to tell us, and it always stuck with me. All I need is all you got. So he went out there third round and got a finish. Like when I tell you, we went crazy. Like it was the most. It was so surreal. It was literally like one of those remember the Titans sports moments. I went crazy. We were hugging him. People jumped in the cage. It was so crazy. I've probably never been that happy after a fight. Like I never got that happy for myself, but for him to do that and for him to have his moment and not just believe in himself and see that work out, that meant the world to me. So that was definitely one of my favorite moments.
And so, how do you? I mean, you have this fighter who's down. It seems like he was down 2 rounds, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, how are you helping them address that? Like, is there something mentally that you're helping them tune up, or you give them physical advice? What exactly are you doing in the corner?
Okay, so when you come back to the corner, of course, I'm not a coach. I watch it a bunch, and I just kind of mimic what my coaches do for me. So first things first, have them sit down, focus on their breathing. If they want water, you know, give them water, and then once they get that, then calmly talk to them. First things first, you address like the physical. Hey, I need you to keep your hands up. I need you to move around a little bit. I need you to go to the body. I need you to do this and this. And after that, then it kind of gets into the, hey, we lost that round. I need you to pick it up. Look out for this. Go for more of that. But in that third round, it was a little bit of technical advice. I straight up told him, I'm like, yo, this guy's better technically than you. And sometimes that just is what it is. You got to turn it into a fight. Like, you really got to, kind of bite down on your mouthpiece and get him out of there. That's the only way we're going to win. Like, you got to get him out of there. And I just try to come from a very matter of fact stance. Like, yo, you're in there. He's going to keep coming for you. So we need to finish it. We got to get him out of there. So I'm very matter of fact. And then I kind of, throwing the theatrics. We the best, DJ Khaled. So just I try to keep it serious but light at the same time, and let them know that it's we believe in you, and just go out and do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome to hear, right? Because I think oftentimes, like, you get a mixed bag whenever you listen to a coach's corner. Sometimes you feel like the coach is never really fully transparent with the fighter. They're like, oh, you did good that fight. You did good that round. And, from the viewers are like, no, I think you got toe up in that round. I think you lost that round. and they don't really, like, give them the advice. What it appears to us, they don't give us the necessary advice to help the fighter break through. But it also could mean that different fighters, take in information differently. So some fighters don't want to know what the accurate depiction of what happened. They just want to be motivated, right? To go out there and just motivate me.
Come on, champ. It's all you. It's all you. Yeah.
And then
like you said, some people are like that. Like, I don't know. Like,
and then there's also some fighters who just like technical advice. Like, hey, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me where the gaps are. Let me know what I'm missing. And then there's some folks who love a mix of a bunch of other things. And so, as a fighter, what kind of advice do you like?
Honestly, if I have to say, I love the coaching styles of my main two coaches. They're very matter of fact. They talk very calmly. They even say, like, thank you, and please, like, hey, David, we need to take down. Thank you, or we need you to get your hips out. So they're very calm and matter of fact what they're saying. They're very direct. Hey, I need your hand here. I need you to pull his hips away from the cage. So that's what I really like. I also like that like emotional thing too, because that drives me. I'm a very emotional person. And if you could get me fired up, it's like, yo, my last fight, I was up 4 rounds to nothing. It was the 5th round. I'm feeling tired. He said, I don't give a fuck. Like, I need you to win this round. I need you to dominate. I need you to get in this fucking fit. Like, cussing, we need, because that brings out something in me. Because I feel like, especially as fighters, you kind of always have like that, even the most patient technical fighters, you're a badass in there. And, when push comes to shove, you guys got to put it out there. So I'm a mix of, I like technical advice, and then also hype me up. I'm somebody who likes the adrenaline of it, and I'm a positive guy. So even if you tell me, hey, we lost that round, but we're good on conditioning, I believe in you, pick it up. So I'm really good at positive affirmation, technical advice, and give me some give me something to light a fire under me. So those are my 3
DJ
things.
Khaled.
Yeah, right. You the best. Nobody like if I can have like Deontay Wilder in there, like Floyd Mayweather, man, and ain't nobody ever been as pretty as you. Nobody do. I'm like, I'm like, you right. So I need a hype man too, for sure.
Word. And so tell me about the second, I guess, Street Beefs moment that stands out to you. You said the first one was you coaching, and the second one was you directly involved in it.
Okay, for me personally, and I think most people would kind of assume this, it was the Viking fight. And only because, dude, it was really, I'm big into, and it's never happened like this before. Like, it's happened partly like this, but during that fight, I manifested so many things. I was in camp, and I was just landing my overhand like all the time, like on everybody. Even my coach was like, yo, yeah, overhand is really coming together. You're really slick with it. You're landing it. I went, oh man, I really feel like this is going to be something I can use in a fight, especially with him being like a little taller. With him being taller, I'm like, this is a weapon I could use. Even like when me and my boy would like talk in the just like, conversating. Like, I'm like, yo, man, I feel like this is gonna be really big. He's like, yo, I feel like that too. Like, this is where you make your mark. We literally said this is where you go viral. Like, you put on such a great performance and make people take notice. Because at that point, I really felt like I was rising through. I was like, people would tell me like, hey, you're a popular guy. People like you. So I'm like, yo, we got to put a stamp on it. We got to really dominate and make people notice me. And I just envisioned it, dude. Like, when I went to sleep, when I was in practice, I'm like, viral, overhands. And when all that just manifested in like the overhand, the left hits, the finish, the thing with the referee, all of that, like, it all was like a perfect storm. And for me to put so much work into that and really manifest it and believe it and kind of will it into existence, it was crazy for me. It really let me know, like, hey, you can do this.
Yeah, I mean, Conor McGregor talks about manifestation all the time. I think a number of fighters talk about that to length, right? This idea of manifesting your destiny, manifesting what you're going to do, how you're going to perform. And so, was this something that was specifically for Viking, or were you doing this beforehand?
So I was getting into, especially like, I knew getting into MMA, your mind has to be really strong. I've seen the best, like George St. Pierre, talk about having a sports psychologist. A lot of high level athletes have sports psychologists. So I was like, I would look into things that kind of, work on your mind. A lot of positive affirmations, a lot of, I'm really big into motivational speeches. I love Jordan Peterson. I love The Rock, Michael Chandler, people like that. But as I was going through like that little period, I just was like, it's like manifest. I'm like, and it's weird. I feel like some people just don't do it because they're like, oh, that's not gonna happen, or I gotta worry about what he's doing, or this and that. And when I really just believed, but like I just will. It's weird. Like, it's hard for me to explain. You kind of just will it in, and I never had like the full picture. Even during the fights, I tell people like I kind of snap in and out of moments. Like, we'll be going boom, 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 boom. This happened, and then I kind of boom, 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 boom. And when I get back to the uh, the stool, I'm like, okay, I know what I did, but then all of it's kind of off of instinct too. So it's really weird. So when I was going through it, when it would manifest, it would just be like I'll see like an overhand. Or I would have this feeling of getting a takedown. So you don't have all the pieces, but when you're in it, you're so used to that feeling. I think that's what it is. You get used to the feeling, your body gets used to the feeling. So it kind of, I won't say goes and seeks it, but when it happens, it's not like a surprise. Like, if you kind of always assume like, hey, somebody's gonna throw me a surprise party, and like you just expecting it every day, but it's not there, it's not there. Eventually, when it happens, you're gonna be like, see, I knew, because you're kind of just prepared. If that's the
Right.
way I would explain it, you're just kind of preparing for the moment. Like, I'm gonna get surprised at 10 o'clock. Just prepare yourself.
Right. Yeah, no, it certainly seems like a really big deal for fighters to really manifest, to really prepare their minds. I mean, I think oftentimes when people talk about this sport, they only talk about it from a kind of physical aspect, a physical perspective,
Mm-hmm.
but there's just so much more that goes into fighting, right? There's the psychological, there's the emotional, the spiritual, because some people even see this as a spiritual journey, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
there's just so much. And so as you're stating this, right, it reminds me of how important it is for folks to be preparing their full selves, right? Not just the physical, not just hitting the bag, but really digging deep, right? Like, because when you get in fights, oftentimes you're answering a lot of questions about yourself, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
answering a lot of questions around your fears, around your doubts. And so if you're not ready to go into those kind of fights, oftentimes people will break. And we've seen that
Yep.
many, many times, right? And so I mean, again, and so I love the points that you're making because it really underscores this idea that you have to fully train all of you in order to fight, in order to get in the ring. Not only that, because I always say this, right, is that, when you can learn a lot from fighters because those are the mentalities, the mindsets that we all need, whether or not we step in the ring or not, to fight in life. Right? There's always going to be obstacles. There's always going to be things in the way. There's always going to be like all these impending challenges in your life. And so how you manage to manifest yourselves over those obstacles, how you manage to prepare your body, prepare your mind, prepare your spirit for them, I think eventually helps you break through and hopefully lead you to fruitful outcomes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yo, that's exactly that. I love that sentiment because that's really, dude. Like when you see two people get in a fight, it's a fight. It's not too much. Like, hey, I wonder what does this mean? Like they're getting to a physical fight. But I feel like that's why a lot of people like sports. That's why I like sports. A lot of people like movies and stuff like that because all through those you can tell even like as a person that's a fight. Even like a really hard football game where they're going back and forth to the wall, that's a fight. Like if you're at your everyday home and I'm struggling to pay the bills, I gotta pick up an extra shift at this job that I hate. That's a fight. Like we all know what a fight looks like in like everyday life. It's just when it's out in a real fight, it's just so easy and everybody kind of just knows what it is. That's what really attracted me to it. It's just so primal, and everybody knows what it's like to fight. If we're not fist fighting, you got into a fight, or like you said, we're just fighting in life. So that's what I love about it. It's something we can all like kind of like hold on to because we all know what it feels like.
Word. No, absolutely. And so enough about me, enough about, let me step off my soapbox for a second. So let me ask you this. It's just to me, that stuff is just really important. And I always,
So important.
yeah, no, it is. And so whenever I get in a conversation with folks and people say, well, why do you watch fighting? Isn't that very primitive? And I'm like, no, you have to understand, like, there's a lot to learn from fighters. There's a lot to learn from fighting. And so I always try to key in, try to, put them on game like, hey, man, these are the key insights that you can learn from watching someone fight or from putting yourself at the test, right? To putting yourself at risk because you learn those things and you adopt those things in your own practices and behavior so that you can really accomplish and overcome a lot of the obstacles in your life. So again, off the soapbox, but I appreciate the opportunity to really kind of dive deep into that
I
because I think
always
it's
love
really
talking
important.
about it. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
talking
word.
about it.
And so now, right, it's always odd to say that you're kind of retired. I don't know if you had your last fight at Streetbeefs, right? And so you
I
said
mean,
that you're
never
going to
say
have
never, right?
exactly.
Somebody asked me, I'm like, oh man, I say those things just as I don't like holding up the division. I've told him that, like, I like, dude, if you want to crown a new champ or you want to have, I never like that's something that never like kind of bothered me or anything. And I kind of just, especially now where I'm at, I kind of come and go. But I don't want people to be like, "Hey, you haven't fought in like 6 months, 7 months. Where are you?" So if it is, then it is. But I'm still an Amby. I'm not pro. Like I said, you never know. So,
Yeah. And so I know that you do a lot of manifestation. And so what does the future look like for Baby Hulk?
that's that's so wild. Like when I'm still on that thing of like sometimes I feel like I'm thinking too small, and then some days it's like, dude, you're thinking of the world, and that's great for me because my vision's always changing. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, I want something small. If I'm this type of fighter and I never make it to the big leagues, I'll be cool with that. But then some days I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna be the greatest, the best. I'm gonna have all the fucking cards. Like, so I kind of go back and forth with that. But my vision is just like if I have to say kind of corny, it's just a feeling, man. Like when I feel, I guess like that competition kind of gets satiated. Uh, I touch as many people as I can. Like I really, my movement is like positivity, just making people want to be better, be positive, help their fellow man, and all that. So if I have to say the vision, it's just like trying to bring as much positivity, as much goodwill, and I don't know, man. My vision is so wide right now, and I feel like I have so many avenues I can go that it's hard for me to really break it down. That's why I love I love like the journey that I'm on because I really don't know where to go.
Yeah. And so, I mean, wherever the journey lies ahead, we know that you have a bunch of supporters out there cheering you on. You represent not only Street Beefs, but you represent a whole bunch of folks who follow the culture of Street Beefs, this idea of brotherhood, sisterhood, familyhood. And so, I mean, I know that I probably won't be the only one to tell you this, but I think a lot of us are really pushing for you, hoping you succeed, because we know that when you succeed, we all succeed.
See, I love that, and even before like going viral, even before I was quote unquote famous, dude. I've always heard that like from everybody from the Street Beast team, like, dude, we just love your just who you are as a person. You're so hardworking. Everybody like if you can't like automatically tell when you meet me, then you see it on my workout videos, or you can just see that I put so much of myself into this that people just want me to succeed, and I love that. I love the positivity, and I just feel like that's me. I give a lot of goodwill, like just in life, and I just feel like that's a blessing that like I receive that tenfold because literally, dude, all the support I get all the time from you guys in the media, from the promoters to other fighters to the fans. Like it's wild. Like it really kind of it. I'm already a humble guy, but just to see people like, yo, you inspire me. I started working out again because it's really surreal and it really just drives me so hard.
Yeah. And so, one last question. I don't think I can let you leave without answering this question: is how'd you get the name Baby Hulk?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, Daniel. It's probably this question and how tall are you are the top two frequently. That's one A and one B. Like, how'd you get the name and how tall are you? I'm like, damn, how many times am I gonna answer this? But unlike the height one, this is actually a question that I really like answering. So, um, long story short, I don't know if you guys know, I was kind of always built like this. I don't want you guys to think I was like 7 foot and had like a horrible accident that took off but I was always kind of built like this, muscular, short guy, dude. If you see my dad or my grandfather, dude, I got nothing to them. So I got really good genetics. And one day, this wrestling manager from another team, right after a match, I ain't gonna stunt. I used to walk around with the singlet low, like with the arms popping out, so people would notice me. And she came up and she was like, "Hey, I seen your match. You did really good." She said, "You're so buff." It's like you're like a baby Hulk. And literally, all my friends around, we died laughing. I thought it was hilarious. But oh, that's funny. And then it kind of just went away. But every time we would see her at events and tournaments, that's just how she would refer to me, like Baby Hulk, Baby Hulk. And then it's just something about. I'm like, dude, I'm a huge Marvel nerd, and it was like it just encompassed me. Like I'm like a little Hulk. So I kind of ran with that all through high school. I put it on like on my like I used to play flag football, put it on the back of my flag football jersey. Anytime they be like nicknames, I would be like, yo, Baby Hulk. And I just ran with it. And the fact that it's not, it's like I'm really lucky. I never had one of those nicknames, like, oh no, that's a bad nickname, or change that nickname. As soon as people hear it, like, boom, that is you. I love it. It encompass you, the logo, everything. Shout out to Best He came up with the 5 foot savage thing. I'll run with that. So it's just I'm it just fits me and my personality, and I really feel like when you're you, I don't have to try to be anybody else. So it's really easy being me. That's all I know. So it just kind of works out like that.
Word. Where? How can folks continue to support your journey? Where can they see all your training videos? Where can they see you?
Uh, if you guys want to see all of that and more, go to my onlyfans.com. Oh my gosh. Get my page fans and more. Nah, but nah, for real guys, if you want to keep supporting your boy, YouTube Baby Hulk, Instagram is where I'm most prevalent on, Baby Hulk _23. You can DM me. I check my DMs a good amount. Like people are really surprised when I respond to them. So if you send me a DM, most likely I'm gonna respond to it. So places like that, you could, I might pop up on a harder to fight, something like that, man. So I'm always kind of around. I always keep my eye on Street Beefs. I'm subscribed. I regularly watch the fights. I have like fighters that I really like and that I keep up with. So just follow me on there, and I love the support, guys. Literally, you guys keep me going some days.
Yeah, and you also have merch, right? And so let's make sure we get the merch
Oh,
popping.
oh yeah, thank you, thank you. How can I forget? Baby Hulk merch, more coming real soon, especially after this fight where I can focus on it more. If you go to my Instagram, link in the bio, you can get yourself a nice, cool Baby Hulk shirt. It will be, shipped off to you pronto. And just remember, guys, not only are you getting a sweet shirt that you can show off to all your friends, like, yo, who's Baby Hulk? Show them my videos, but also you guys are helping me so much, man. I love this journey that I'm on, but it's not easy. It takes money, time, resources, a lot of people who take a lot of time out. So when you do that, you are helping me follow my dream and, keep this thing going. So always really appreciate that, guys.
Yeah. And then I think last thing, I just really want to harp on this last thing that you said is that fighters certainly need more financial support, right? So monetary. So if you got some funds, some additional funds, show your boy some love. I know that you're still accepting sponsors.
Yeah, I mean, not for this fight, but dude, I take donations. Your boy fights all the time. It's gonna be another rate. Like I'm gonna need more sponsors for that one. So, like I said in one of my videos, I know it's tough out here if you don't got it. It's totally cool. You watch the videos, you comment. I love it. But if y'all got a little extra chicken that you don't want to care about, and you want to help the young Black youth of America, then I'm right here. So you can help your boy out with that.
Word. Well, we appreciate the time, brother. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Dan.
If you like what you heard, like what you saw, please subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you were able to gather some really cool insights, some really deep insights from the conversation that I had with Baby Hulk, especially when we started talking about fighting, kind of the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual journeys that people take in fighting. Hopefully you can get some of that and employ that into some of your practices, some of your belief systems, so that you can overcome some of the obstacles that continue to persist and continue to show up in your life. So with that, if you want to support our platform, you can go to our Patreon page and make a donation. And as always, we always appreciate the support. Until the next time I see you, until the next time our content hits our channel, make sure you dig deep and double down on your own commitments to your life.